We'll go ahead and call tonight's regular city council meeting to order. And for tonight's invocation, we've got Pastor Steve Switzer of the Calvary Baptist Church. Pastor.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening and we just want to say thank you. Thank you for a beautiful day. Thank you for the gift of life and for allowing us to be here tonight. And I thank you for these who have gathered in this hall, for these elected officials and for the work that they will do here tonight. And I pray for wisdom. I pray that you guide them. And for the citizens that they represent, Lord, I just thank you for them and thank you for this town and what it means to be a part of this town. Lord, I just pray that everything that's done in this place tonight would see your wisdom and see your hand, and may everything that's done bring glory to Jesus Christ. We thank you, and in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Larry Budd.
Here.
Sean Bertle.
Here.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Here.
Rob Heatherling.
Here.
Bruce Jones.
Here.
Ray Coontz. Here. Martin Voda.
Here.
Earl Walters.
All 8 aldermen present. Okay, first we have a motion to utilize
So
the
moved.
omnibus vote
Second.
for approval of the minutes of the previous meetings listed on tonight's agenda under the title Omnibus Vote Designation. Alderman Dorchenez, second by Alderman Jones. Discussion or comment? Hearing none, roll call.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Budd.
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. Okay, the minutes we'll be approving will be the minutes of the special city council meeting held June 2nd, 2014. Minutes of the regular meeting held June 2nd, 2014. Minutes of the Emergency Services Committee meeting held June 5th, 2014. Minutes of the Personnel Committee meeting held June 5th, 2014. Minutes of the Special City Council meeting held June 5th, 2014. Minutes of the Lake Airport Committee meeting held June 12th, 2014. And minutes of the Water Environmental Committee meeting held June 12th, 2014. I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Alderman Bertle, the second.
Second.
Second by Alderman Budd. Discussion or comment? Roll call, please.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Budd.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. Okay, first thing we have is a resolution to ratify a loan amendment regarding the Cherokee Street Water Tower.
So moved.
Alderman Dorchenez, second.
Second.
Alderman Voda, discussion or comment?
May I speak to that, Your Honor?
Please.
I've asked that this resolution be brought before you gentlemen this evening. I was asked to give an attorney opinion for the bonds that you folks approved for your Cherokee Street water tower. It was before my time, but I went ahead and reviewed the documents and signed off on it. But to dot the I and cross the T, there was a loan amendment that the mayor signed. There's some question whether or not the initial ordinance that you adopted would allow him to do that. So I'm asking you to ratify his action for signing that loan agreement for that Cherokee Water Street bond issuance. That's the reason for the resolution.
Thank you. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz. Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Budd.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. Okay, next we have a resolution. It's levy an additional tax of 0.02% for the library purchase of sites and buildings, for the construction and equipment of buildings, and for the maintenance, repairs, and alteration of library buildings and equipment. Entertain a motion to approve that resolution. Alderman Koontz. Second.
Second.
Alderman Bertle. Discussion or comment? Roll call, please.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Budd.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. Next, we have an ordinance adding a one-way stop at Bidwell Street where it intersects with Snodgrass Street. Entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Alderman Koontz, second by Alderman Walters. Discussion or comment? Roll call, please. Oh, Alderman Budd.
Is this going on Bidwell or is it going on Snodgrass?
On Bidwell.
Okay.
Any other questions? Alderman Koontz.
Thank you, Your Honor. This, I believe, was brought up a long time ago, but with the transition of attorneys and everything, it's one of those things I believe that maybe fell through the cracks. This is going at the intersection of Bidwell and Snodgrass on the Bidwell Street side. There's been some close calls there, no reported major accidents, but a lot of close calls. And that's just
Okay. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Ray Coontz?
Yes.
Martin Voda?
Yes.
Earl Walters?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Sean Bertle?
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez?
Yes.
Rob Heatherling?
Yes.
Bruce Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. Okay, the next two items we will not take action on tonight. We'll actually be voting on those at the next city council meeting on July the 7th.
So please bring them back with you.
Yes, please bring these back with you, and we will take action at that time. Okay, the next two items I'd like to hold for a little bit. We've got someone from the bond council notified us, and they're running late, and we want them to be here in case you have questions for them. So we'll put those on hold for right now. And we'll move ahead to city attorney updates.
I've got 6 things, I think, gentlemen, or actually 5 now that I talked about the resolution that I'd like to bring to your attention. As I reported at the last meeting, we did file suit against a Round Table Cafe here in town because they failed to, well, they actually wrote the city a bad check for the $750 fine that the mayor imposed by an agreed order for violation of the your local liquor control code. Last week, the president of the company did call me, actually then has paid in cash the $750 to the city clerk's office and also the cost for the return of the check. And the city was not charged any court costs for processing it, with the sheriff's service or the filing fee with the clerk, so that case was dismissed just today. The second matter is, and you'll be getting more of a detailed report, I believe, as we mentioned last meeting, the mayor did have a meeting with Illinois EPA concerning your appeal on the lake project, airport project. As a result of those discussions, you remember there was a form that the mayor was asked to sign that the CAM, your consulting engineers, wanted him to sign. We held back until he would sign an agreement. That agreement was never signed by either Laker or CAM. We've since learned that CAM has dissolved and no longer in existence, what we're being told. The mayor at the meeting asked EPA, they kind of confirmed that he should not have signed it, but to go ahead and send it to EPA and let them look at it. If they need a signature, they'll let him know, and they have not let him know. They've taken it as if they're under review. And just last week, I have received an email from the attorney from Illinois EPA. They have made a written settlement proposal of the case for you folks to consider. And I will be sending that to you, and we'll discuss that at an upcoming council meeting soon. The next status hearing is in August. We would like to get this resolved along with Mr. Laker's issue before that next status hearing. So they're still opening up that if there is some information coming, there is some room for some further discussion. So I think rather than, I'll just detail it out to you, give you written reports, you'll all be up to date, and we'll discuss it full at another meeting with Mr. Laker. I know he has pending another interest request, and I think Alderman Volta, which I acquiesce to, and the mayor, is that we're not taking any action on that yet because the numbers keep getting higher from him, and he's actually made a FOIA request, I think 3 of them now, if I'm not mistaken, not 2, excuse me. I'm not sure where he's going with it, but the clerk has responded, and we'll just have to see at a next discussion with Mr. Laker where we're at on that situation. But we're making some progress, I think. The third thing I want to mention is that we have complied with the agreement that we had in court with the Jamal Shahada situation. If you recall, there was a subpoena and 2 FOIA requests that we were going to bundle up, seal it, give it to the judge, Judge Paisley, as a matter of fact, that he would review it and make a determination as to what documents, if any, would be appropriate to provide to Mr. Shahada, his attorney, and also to the state's attorney. After this last meeting, we got a 3rd FOIA request from Mr. Shahada, which we have honored and included in that packet at his request to Mr. Paisley. So there has been a substantial amount of time being spent on this with your police force, I know, with the police chief in Maryland, and I think the city clerk's office might have got involved in it, but there was a box about this tall that we delivered with a lot of records. So we don't, that was just delivered Friday. Our deadline was today, but it was delivered to the court on Friday. So I don't know if the court's had a chance to review it yet or not, but they'll get back in touch with us at sometime soon, hopefully. The 4th thing is, and I don't, is the police chief behind me by chance?
Yep.
Okay. He and I have met, and we discussed, I think, the ordinance violation forms, have now been blessed by the judiciary here locally. Those forms are put in place. The chief of police, I think, is now satisfied with it, and I believe he was talking with about trying to figure out a way to get these printed and with duplicate copies so that the officers can put those in place. I think once we get this in place, it's going to save not only the city clerk's time, it's going to save city attorney time and cost. There's a shorter way to process these ordinance violations. That's the goal. And I think once we get these printed and get moving, we can do that. Keep in mind, these are only for non-traffic offenses that we're allowed to do this process we've come up with. You'll still be treating your motor vehicle type violations the same as you always did, but for the public intoxication, illegal consumption, those kind of things, we've got a streamlined situation set up that we think will work best for us now. And finally, I believe you've all received an email from me on the hunting lease. I think Alderman Volta posed a question that he had talked with the tax assessor here locally as to what would the city have an option of, instead of calling these leases, calling them licenses, and maybe perhaps then taking it as a exemption of the tax code, so it would be a vehicle perhaps to not have us being taxed if we decide to open this up for hunting leases. I gave you some legal research for you to chew on later, but my gut reaction is you can't do it. I mean, it's going to be a tough nut to try to crack to call a lease a license when in fact I think it wouldn't be. And I've given you some case law to kind of support my thought process on that. So with that, I'll wait till the bond fella comes here, but he's not here yet, but I'll mention it now. I think Alderman Walters will support me on this. It's a very long bond ordinance. There is he's counted 17 pages. I didn't count the pages, but there's a number of blanks that are in there that I think we need to ask him what goes in those blanks. And we're talking about the dollar amounts and paybacks, and they're not in here. And I think he's expecting you to sign these tonight and move forward, which is fine as long as you're satisfied with the numbers. The other thing that I saw in here that I'm just a little concerned about is some representation by you people that there's no other bonds issued in 2014 that would trigger any kind of tax consequences to the buyer of these bonds. You're supposed to be tax-exempt bonds. And I know in some discussion with the city clerk, the last thing you did there with the waterworks or the Cherokee, we're talking about like a loan, but I'm telling you what I signed off on came from the bond council, and they were called Waterworks System Revenue Bonds. So I want to make sure that what you sign tonight or adopt tonight, we're going to be okay. That's what I wanted to ask the fellow when he comes here tonight, so he's not here. Okay. You're all satisfied with what we did with the Davis development tonight? Did we need to discuss that, or is there any questions about that?
We'll discuss it later to make sure, they're asking for some language to use when they reconvene the meetings at the next city council meeting and prior to it, the public hearing and the planning commission hearing.
But we all understand why we had to reconvene.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Okay. Questions for the city attorney? Alderman Koontz.
Standard question, the burnout property on East Vine, where do we stand with all that?
The complaint's not filed yet, but the title work is back, and I need to prepare the affidavit for the mayor to sign.
Alderman Voda.
Thank you. Just to give you a heads up, we did discuss the hunting lease at the Lake and Airport Committee
Okay.
meeting, and the directive will be, we're going to revisit it next month, that I asked them to go through those bullets that you provided to us,
Right.
and that if they have any questions, concerns, to either get with myself or the mayor, we'll pursue the answers. If we need to get you involved, I'll have the mayor get directly with you, so at least you have a heads up that you may have some questions coming your way.
And those may not be all-inclusive bullets. Those are just what I
Right, it's
threw out
food for
you
thought,
guys
there's
to-
no question
to
about
talk
it.
about.
The other question I had is related to the Shahada case. The FOIA requests, are those coming from him directly, or are those coming through his attorney?
Coming from him directly.
Okay,
The last communication that I received, well, I guess I got chastised, but I received a couple letters for even talking about it in open forum unfairly, but I don't want to be unfair with Mr. Shahada. But no, he is, the last communication, or the second to last one I received from him, indicated that, well, he actually said his criminal defense attorney does not represent him on the FOIA. He's acting on his own behalf.
okay.
So, well, I can just tell you, you know, you happy to show you the letters. I mean, it's not that, it's all subject to exposure, so. I think the mayor's gotten a communication as well.
Alderman Bertle.
Quick question on the past due ordinance violations that we're gonna send to collections. Where are we at on that process, do you know?
No further other than we decided, I think aren't we gonna do that at the ordinance committee meeting or something? I think that's where it was gonna be brought up and discussed, I think.
Yeah,
This Thursday?
what dates we were going to go back to
Right.
decide, and we were going to go on your recommendation, and
I think I put that in email, I thought, or maybe I said it out loud, but my thought is to go with the, anything before January 1, 2012, we initially shipped to them. And because the way I understand the process from them, and Sean, you might be able to help me with this, but I thought it was easier for them to take the computer printouts of a blocked period of time, and then after they get those, then we work backwards and pick out what we need to do.
That's kinda
I did
how-
talk with Judge Spears about this recently, and that is that if there's any orders out there, there's two things we have to be concerned about. One is you have to vacate the orders, because they're not going to be allowed to, process court orders. And then we want to make sure how it's being worded, so that if these folks would file bankruptcy, that the debt to the city is not discharged. And that's an issue that the judge and I discussed, and we don't have a clear answer to that yet. We want to protect the city in that regard, too.
Okay,
So, that's where we're at.
all right, thank you.
Any other questions for the city attorney? Okay, we'll move on to mayor updates. Last Friday, I had the opportunity to attend a graduation ceremony for 4 individuals who have participated in the Christian County Problem-Solving Court, more commonly referred to as the Drug Court. And I got to tell you, I was very impressed by it. The feeling you get when you kind of light bulb goes off and you finally say, they're doing something right here. This makes sense. Why wasn't this done a long time ago? I think the truth is, decades ago it was being done, and then someone decided it was too expensive and got things turned around. And we've had at least 30 years of just incarcerating individuals and hoping that if you hold them there long enough, the habits will change. And that doesn't work. Again, that's a recipe for disaster. This program, it gives them the tools they need to succeed, and it just makes a lot more sense than locking them up for a short, for that period of time, and then just, starting that same old cycle over and over again. So I certainly applaud Judge Paisley and everyone that's associated with that program. And if you get a chance to learn more about it, again, I think it's something we can all support, because it ends up saving us a lot of money. It really does. And the numbers on the research showing up are very, very positive. And Andy was there with us too. He's behind that program 100% as well, and Alderman Voda as well. And I think it's a very good thing for this area, and I hope it continues a lot of the great success. West Park Avenue. I'm happy to announce that it appears that West Park Avenue will be refurbished or paved sometime mid to late July. That's my understanding. And I can't thank those residents who live in that area enough for the patience they've shown the past couple of years. I mean, they've endured dust and mud and blocked driveways and everything for several years now, and more than anyone should have to. But I think we're pretty much bringing things to an end there. I think we're leaving it better than when we started digging. So I think it'll finally get there, and we'll all be happy. The only other thing I have is the Alstrom update, and I would ask Alderman Budd, would you please update us on what you've heard?
I talked to Mr. Haiti today, and they're to start tearing the tower down and the stack down July 14th, I believe he told me, and they hope to have it operational by the 28th. But so a 2-week time period it'll be down for the repairs. By maybe the 28th we'll be on the road to less noise in the neighborhood.
That's good news. Good news. All right, that's all I have. Anyone have anything else? We'll move on to committee reports. Discussion and or motions to approve, adopt, and/or deny, and/or table, and/or amend, and/or refer to an appropriate committee, in whole or in part, the matters regarding the following subject matters discussed at the committee level. And we start off with emergency services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's one motion came out of that meeting. Motion to allow Police Chief Herbstreit to order 3 body armor vests from Ray O'Haron Company at a cost not to exceed $2,400. I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
Okay. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Alderman Heberlin, discussion or comment? Roll call, please.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Motion passes 8-0. Moving on to Personnel Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had one motion that came out of a Personnel Committee meeting. A motion to adopt a policy to allow the over 65 retiree group to retain their dental and vision insurance coverage if they have chosen to remove their health insurance coverage with the city of Taylorville, with the understanding that at any time they remove themselves from the dental and vision, they will not be allowed to enroll again, and offer that as a motion.
Okay, can I get a second on that?
Second.
Second by Alderman Voda, discussion or comment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Alderman Walters.
First, I'd like to preface it that I'm not against any of the retirees, so I don't expect any calls. I have no animosity towards anyone that's retired. But from my insurance background, if you opt out of the health insurance, you opt out of all the things that are associated with the health insurance, which is dental, eyeglass care, all the things that go along with it. And part of this motion even speaks to that, because they're not allowed to drop out of the insurance coverage, the health insurance, and get back into it. So that's just common sense that should be the same with the other. So, and also that age group, and I'm beyond that age group of 65, that's when you have a number of claims for crowns, for root canals, and that affects our claims and our claims ratio. That in turn then precipitates a premium increase. So this is the part of the group that would add to our claims experience. So I can't support this because I think when you drop out of the health insurance part of it, and you dropped out of the vision and also the dental.
Alderman Heberlin.
They are separate coverages, and one of the more important reasons that we brought this up was that this has been allowed to happen, and we want to make sure that going forward, that those that do opt out understand, and they will sign to that effect, that they will not have the opportunity to re-enroll. Thank you.
Alderman Koontz.
I was the dissenting vote on the committee, and based upon Alderman Walters, what he's already stated, I have to agree with what he says. I think it should be all uniform and not separated. I'll be voting no on this as well.
Okay. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Earl Walters.
No.
Larry Bud.
No.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
No.
And Martin Voda.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-3. Brings us to Lake Airport Committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. We had one motion come out of the lengthy meeting, and the motion was to approve the request of Sharon Morgan for a boat lift on Lake Lot 442 as she submitted the drawing. I'd like to place that in the form of a motion, Your Honor.
Okay, can I get a second on that?
Second.
Alderman Heberlin, discussion or comments?
Yes, Your Honor.
Alderman Walters.
From my experience being out on the lake area since 1982 and working with various superintendents, trying to stabilize some of the things that have happened out there, I think we've had good superintendents over the years to set policies along with the help of the Lake Committee. And I personally do not think that this is a good move. We're going out between 48 and 50 feet out into the body of the lake. And that's totally too far out, whether it's in a cove or not. So I cannot support this when we set policies, I think, in the past where we thought we'd go limit the boat docks to approximately 30 feet out into the lake, which is also a great distance. And I understand that it's a shallow area. That should not have anything to do with it. It's going to open up a can of worms. And I think when we discussed this many years ago and put this in place, we felt that if the existing docks were tore down for some reason, they would have to comply with the new rules. So I cannot support going out 48 feet into the lake.
Alderman Voda.
As you know, Your Honor, we had a good discussion on this. This is replacing an existing boat dock. The depth of the water going out at 48 feet is roughly 3 feet, 3.5 feet. The gentleman and the lady who are requesting this are utilizing a pontoon boat due to disabilities. This is an entirely new dock replacing an existing dock that is basically the same length. And they've been there for many years. The dock's been maintained. They're very comfortable, take care of what they have out there. And I didn't see any reason not to go ahead and allow this to go ahead and be replaced as it was designed. So I will be voting in support of this, and hopefully the rest of the aldermen will see their way out that way.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
No.
Motion passes 7-1. We're just to Water Environmental Committee. Ernie, do you need to put your jacket on for this?
I don't know if I want to waste the time of
Okay.
the council tonight, but thank you for remembering my request. Water Environmental Committee, there was a motion to accept option number 3 from Solar Bee to Stratifier for the amount of $8,867 for the maintenance and support plan for the Solar Bee at Lake Taylorville. I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
Second?
Second, Alderman Voda. Discussion or comment? Roll call, please.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz. Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
There's a motion to approve Water Superintendent Spiegel's request to purchase a 2015 Ford F-250 Super Cab 4x4 pickup from Bob Ridings Ford through the state bid program at a cost not to exceed $32,299, and I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Second, Alderman Walters. Discussion or comment? Alderman Voda.
Your Honor, I'll be voting against this at this time. The $32,000 is, the perception by the general public is that's a lot of money when we're looking at paying for water plant. I made all these comments the other evening at the Water Committee, and I respect the fact that this is being presented to us, but at this time, $32,000 for a truck to replace I believe it was a van that has failed, that was quite a bit of money to replace a van that's needing replaced, so I'll be voting no on that.
Any other comments?
I'd just like to
Alderman
make one
Dorchenez.
comment that whether we were building a new water plant or not, we still need this truck and we'd be purchasing it anyway.
Alderman Heatherly.
Yeah, until we see all the budgets together, I will not be in favor of any more purchases of vehicles, but once the budgets are put together, then I'd certainly consider it. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
No.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
No.
Martin Voda.
No.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
No.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Mayor votes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
would you know it, yeah.
It's only like the second time that you've been elected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys bring up some very good points as far as the money and the concerns. I do trust our water superintendent very much. He understands the position the city's in, and I think he looks at it seriously. He brought up a very good point that this truck can be used for multi-services. He can put a snowplow blade on front of it and push snow too. So it'll serve several purposes. So with that said, I'll vote yes, and the motion passes 5-4.
The next motion is to to allow Superintendent Spiegel to apply for an IEPA permit to tie 2 dead-end lines together to improve water quality and flow in the 1600 block of West Park Avenue at a cost not to exceed $2,000. I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
Second?
Second, Alderman Walters. Discussion or comment? Roll call.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
The last motion was to implement the changes in the annexation procedure to require all requested annexations to be presented to the Water Committee for their recommendation to the council. I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
Okay, can I get a second on that?
Second?
Alderman Voda. Discussion or comments? Alderman Bertle.
Although I'm going to support this, I don't like the idea that we're rolling in the ones that are kind of automatic. We got this process in place a couple years back, and if you meet all the guidelines and a property changes hands, that person is required to come in at that time when they get their water turned on. And I like that because I think that eliminates all these problems that we've had in the past where somebody's either been dropped through the cracks for whatever reason or something has happened. So I hope that when these come back to the Water Committee that we don't do the you know, for lack of a better word, the buddy policy or whatever, that, you know, this person's got some extraordinary circumstances that we're not gonna include them in, just annexing them to the city limits because of some unusual circumstances where, in most cases, we would bring them in anyway. So I think, you know, I would like to see this more refined down to, you know, certain problems that we have and those automatics, that they have to be going forward, but it doesn't seem like I'm gonna be supported on that. So I'm gonna support it, but I really like to be cautious on how we handle this.
Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Bruce Jones?
Yes.
Ray Coontz?
Yes.
Martin Voda?
Yes.
Earl Walters?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Sean Bertle?
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez?
Yes.
Rob Heatherling?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. Okay, let's go ahead and motion to approve and ratify payment of bills in the amount of $231,065.56.
Make that form motion.
Alderman Bud, get a second by Alderman Bertle.
Good comment.
Go ahead, Alderman Bud.
Electric for all departments, $11,964.08. Telephone for all departments, $2,910.88. Fuel for all departments, $25,110.79. Office supplies for all departments, $838.85. Computer tech for all departments, $1,031.64. U.S. Bank for miscellaneous, all departments, $3,044.96. Big R, Ace, Urban, and Ron's for miscellaneous supplies, all departments, $4,029.71. Garbage, $1,442. Taylorville Main Street, first quarter hotel motel, $2,450.22. Attorney fees, $7,898. Green and Bradford, $58,608.21. Unique temporary help for all departments, $2,907.09. Illinois Department of Revenue for fuel sales, $1,911. Police and fire uniform allowance, $3,761.87. Police Department, Main Cross Auto for repairs, $1,288. Keisler's Police Supply for ammo, $2,627.60. Nelson's System for maintenance agreement, $3,198.98. Fire Department, Municipal Energy for maintenance service, $2,013.25. Street Department, Paint and Limestone, $5,394.92. Fresno Brothers, $2,125. Phil Tullis, $11,450.90. Christian County for Patcher Oil, $1,212.56. Cartograph System Incorporated for software, $2,657. Lewis Marsh for oil, $5,874.63. Mug-a-Bug for Excalibur Flush, $4,223. Billman Logistics for hauling, $5,780.55. Water Department Wrestler and Associates for maintenance on chlorinators, $1,997. Midwest Meter for maintenance and supplies, $15,286.36. Chemicals, $10,218.75. P.H. Broughton for hot mix, $1,554.19. Lake Department Route 29 Customs for repairs and supplies, $1,159.06. Nokomis Quarry, which includes the street department, $1,385.85. Airport for Filtration Corp of America maintenance on fuel tanks, $1,271.87. These total to $208,584.02. Just for miscellaneous, this last 2 weeks, $7,074.67.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Ray Coontz?
Yes.
Martin Voda?
Yes.
Earl Walters?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Sean Bertle?
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez?
Yes.
Rob Heatherling?
Yes.
Bruce Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. Okay, I think our bond council representative is here. Sir, I'd ask you to stand up and introduce yourself, please.
Very good, thank you. My name is Will Glass with First Mid-State, and I'm pleased to address the mayor and council members, albeit please excuse my tardiness this evening. We're here to wrap up the bond sale or the bond issue for the city of Taylorville tonight. And I brought some documents that I'd like to leave with Pam. And first, before I do that, pass out some information for your consideration. Now, the bonds are sold, and this would be the proposal being considered this evening for action on the bond ordinance that incorporates this information.
Thank you, sir.
Now, the bonds are sold, and
Could we get you to give one to our city council too?
Also to the commissioner,
And
too.
if you got an extra one, a treasurer, maybe.
we've got plenty of extras here.
Down here. Okay.
You one there and one here.
One to Chief Goodall.
Chief Goodall?
Chief Goodall. That way you guys have got a copy.
I'll give you my copy here. Let me just walk everyone through this. This is a little over 17-year maturity schedule, 17 and a half years. The final interest rate at the bottom of the page here for the financing is 4.8577. Now, that's a fixed rate for the life of the bond issue, and it's a tax-exempt municipal interest rate. On the left-hand side of the page, you have the corresponding payment dates, and you have annual principal payments and semi-annual interest payments occurring on June 1st and December 1st of each year, with the first payment of interest only due on December 1st of 2015. Now, this is for $1.1 million of bonds, and this is for what I understand to be a ladder truck purchase, as well as a refinancing of some of the outstanding debt certificates. And the way we structured the bond issue is with small principal payments in the first 12 or so years, with most of the principal being paid in the last few years. And that was our objective, to meet your goal of, along the right-hand side here, these annual debt service payments of combined principal and interest of around $260,000 per year. So we have with us the bond ordinances for your consideration this evening. A motion and a second on the ordinance would adopt these terms, which have been incorporated into the bond ordinance, and which Mr. Romano has had a chance to review, and they've been prepared by the bond attorneys Chapman and Keller in Chicago. In 2 weeks, you would get your deposit, and you'd have the money available to expend on the project. And you'd be making your payments beginning on 12/1/15 with the Heartland Bank.
All right, any,
Are there any questions I can help answer?
any questions up here, and then I'd like to turn it over to our city, well, why don't we, let me start with the city attorney, I think that'd be easier, we'll start with
Yeah.
that, and then go to the alderman.
Yeah, Mr. Glass, the document, the two ordinances, well, the one, the bond ordinance and the escrow agreement that was provided to my office, what, Friday? I believe by email, has a lot of blanks in it. They're not filled out. So I have no idea whether or not these numbers you're passing out now will be into this ordinance. But more importantly, the question I have, and I know you didn't prepare this document, and you're probably not bond counsel, I'm certainly not bond counsel, but on page 45 and 49 of the ordinances, this city is asked to certify, and I can just state here that it says that we're certifying that as of this date, in this year, calendar year 2014, other than the bonds that you're asked to adopt tonight, there's no tax-exempt obligations of any kind has been issued by or on behalf of the city. I just signed off on April 11, 2014, at the request of, I believe, the IEPA and Bond Counsel, Evans, Frolic, and up in Champaign, that concerning the Cherokee bonds called Waterworks System Revenue Bonds. So there are bonds, I assume, are going to be issued after April 11th of this year. So this certification would be inaccurate, I would think. So are you aware of that? And how's that going to affect this issuance of this bond if, in fact, we do have bonds outstanding? And I know EPA is calling it, according to the clerk is telling me, as a loan agreement, but the actual, the title opinion I was asked to give and what's in the bond, it says a Waterworks System Revenue Bond, IEPA Water Revenue Fund and related public water supply loan program. I don't know if those qualify as tax-exempt bonds and being sold as such, and whether or not it violates this ordinance, I don't know that. But to ask this council tonight getting a draft document on Friday by email that they have not, certainly, I think Mr. Walters probably read it word for word, but there's like 17 pages of blanks that are not filled in. So, I mean, it's a little unfair to ask them to be voting on something when we have these questions. And perhaps it should be posed to bond council, I don't know.
Certainly, and we'll pass that question along to them.
Sure.
My understanding is the IUPA financing would not count as bonded indebtedness of the city.
And if we can get a letter to that effect or an email to that effect, great.
Okay, we'll
But-
follow up with that
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Okay.
We'll get back to you hopefully tomorrow.
Okay.
That'd be my goal to do that.
I mean, I would think Chapman and Cutler, were they made aware of this other program that we had out there? Because what these bond council do, quite frankly, and Heaven said the same thing, they put it back on my shoulder to certify that these things haven't been, the city hasn't done these other actions. Well, I'm not a bond expert. So I want them to know that there's bonds out here. They're the ones that's going to be, they're a nationally recognized bond council that you're going to utilize to sell these bonds. They need to tell us, does this qualify or not? That's my point.
Certainly.
Because I'm not going to sign a letter that says they are if I know there's bonds out there.
Okay, well, the majority of the closing documents can be followed in due course here prior to the bond closing in 2 weeks.
Okay.
All we need tonight is action on the ordinance, and we can sort through these details going forward with you tomorrow morning.
We actually need to sort, I mean, the bond issue, that's with me, but the blanks for the numbers should be these folks' decisions, not mine.
Certainly. we
And
do
what they've seen is 17 pages of blanks. And you're handing out a one-page document tonight that says, okay, believe that these numbers are going to be here in the appropriate spots. They may be. I'm not suggesting you're not going to do the right thing, but in fairness to them, they haven't seen this till you just handed this out. Correct, gentlemen?
Yes.
Well, we did sell the bonds today. The bonds were not sold on Friday, and that's why they had many of the blanks contained within the drafts. And, we do apologize for not having furnished the final information this evening prior to your consideration of the ordinance. You can rest assured and trust me that we do 100 bond deals a year, and we're in the market twice a week, and this is all we do. And all I can say is rest assured that this is being done correctly and according to the letter of the law.
Additional questions?
Well, I
At this
think
point?
I've said enough. How can I recommend you vote on something you haven't seen?
Yeah.
So if he's going to say that these numbers are going to fill in all the blanks, you gentlemen have to decide whether you want to go forward with it. I can't comment on it until I see what the blanks are going to be filled in with. There's a verification report that's supposed to be attached to the escrow agreement from some CPAs that we've not seen. I assume you have it,
I do have it with me this evening.
and we haven't seen it, but
So, as city council, what's your recommendation?
Here's
I mean,
a
do you want to
suggestion.
go look through these things he's got with him? I mean, we're going to have to take some action tonight or not take action tonight, and so I guess I'm looking to you.
I think maybe the appropriate thing to do is that whatever motion is to adopt these ordinances, it is conditioned upon the mayor's approval of the final document with the blanks filled in, if you gentlemen would trust his judgment that there would be appropriate. That way, you can go forward, and if he's satisfied with the fill in the blanks, that will conform with what you think it's going to, the bottom line is what's it going to cost you? That's what you're looking at, I suppose. You know, what's the interest rate? And, if you're satisfied with this payment schedule, then the blanks have to be filled in. And there's an escrow agent that needs to be named. That's not named in there. I assume you've got one in mind. Okay, well, it's not here, but I mean, that's,
Yeah, these are some of the details that we sorted out in the bond sale today
Okay.
and did not make their way into the drafts that were available for viewing on Friday. So all the information is filled in. I have it with me here, and certainly prior to signing any documents, you're more than welcome to carefully review, and I'll leave my business card, and if whatever we need to do to answer the questions that remain outstanding, we will be happy to work with you on.
Okay. I'll open up to the Alderman Walters.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I do not want to hold up this issue to the detriment of the fire department and the purchase of this much needed platform truck, not a ladder truck. But I read all this, and this first document I labeled A, document A, It's 63 pages long. There are a number of pages in the 63-page document that have blank spaces that need to be filled in. Now, I realize that some blanks will be filled in as dictated by various actions. But these pages, I've listed them below, there's numerous blanks with numerous issues, and it encompasses a lot more than just what was presented to us tonight here. And I'm a little dismayed that we don't have that information, because, again, I like to read all this and I like to have it all in place. That being said, then I read, and also, by the way, very boring reading, repetitious reading. Was needed.
Welcome to my world.
But that was what was in it. This one, I labeled document B, the bond escrow agreement, and it's 22 pages long. And there are a number of pages in this document that have blank spaces that need to be filled in. And again, I realize that some blanks will be filled in as dictated by various actions. And I've got the pages listed below. There's 10 pages in here of blanks. So altogether, I read 80-some pages and had a total of 27 pages that had blanks on it. I'm not real happy with that. Thank you, Your Honor.
Alderman Jones.
We've had David Pistorius and his group, First Mid-State, do several bond issues for us. And as far as I know, this is the first time where we haven't had the total amount of information. What this gentleman is saying is he's got all that information. It's not in these right now. And I believe that with the recommendation that the city attorney's given us, that we make the motions dependent on, on the mayor and the city attorney's final perusal of the documents. I believe that that's what we should do. I don't see tabling this. I don't see waiting. I mean, we're looking at what it is. Most of the blanks that are unfilled at this time will be filled in. I guess I would say all of the blanks will be filled in with the pertinent information that we need. This is what these people do. They haven't hurt us in all of the bond issuances that we've had in the past. I believe that the attorney's recommendation is what we should follow.
I will support the attorney's recommendation. I'm a little dismayed that I expected better from the bond counsel based on what they've done for us in the past. I expected better from them. I expected the same procedures that they did in the past with everything filled in. Not that I'm the only one that read these things, but I do read them, and I expected to see those figures and things in those blanks. And so I want that to go back to this particular firm, that I was very upset with the fact that this information was not provided to us in advance. Thank you, Your Honor.
Alderman Burrow.
Well, I think we need to remember that we didn't have firm numbers until just a few days ago on not only the amount of the cost of the truck and those sorts of things. So I think that's why this is called a draft, is because they didn't have the numbers in an adequate enough time to get them in the draft. I think that in most cases when we do bonds, we know how much the project's going to cost well in advance. And I think that we have, a little more time to get things squared away. I don't have any problem whatsoever going along with the city attorney's recommendation, and I'm sure that these will be filled out in accordance to the letter of law, just like the gentleman standing in front of us here tonight stating, and I trust the mayor to make sure that happens.
Okay. Alderman Kuntz and then Alderman Dorchenez. Alderman Kuntz.
I agree, going with the city attorney's recommendation, and upon both of yours final approval, as long as you feel that the appropriate blanks are filled in, I can see going forward with this.
Alderman Dorchenez.
Well, I would agree with the recommendation too, and I think that if this city council meeting was going to be 2 weeks from now, you'd have had those filled in. Would you not?
Certainly.
Okay, so I think it's one of those things that we're trying to hurry up and get this done, and they've done the best they can to get the information to us, and nobody's trying to hoodwink us, I don't think, and I appreciate Mr. Romano looking out for the city the way he always does, and I think that we can trust in Mr. Romano and the mayor taking care of this and move forward.
Any other
I got a math question.
Go ahead.
Probably for Mr. Glass here. The fire truck's what, $899,000, $200,000 to refund the two bonds. That gets us real close to the 1.1 mil. Where do you guys get paid in the bond council? Is it out of this $79,000 is paid the first interest?
No, sir.
I saw your footnote down here.
Yes, the footnote is that all of the expenses that are noted here, bond counsel services, our reports, maturity schedules, and our ongoing service to the city throughout the life of the bond issue is incorporated into the entire interest rate. So you'll notice there are different interest rates for different years. However, it's all incorporated into this 4.8577. All the costs are rolled in to the interest rate. So there's no additional expenses or cuts, checks to cut.
But do we know how much that's going to amount to? How much is the city paying for your fees and bond counsel?
Well, yes, we do. It's not reflected on the debt service schedule, but it is incorporated here into the interest rate.
You said that twice, but you haven't told me the dollar amount.
Okay, well, we'd be glad to get you that information as well.
That's something I think you would need for future reference.
Any other questions before we vote? Well, I guess I better read this, and then we'll have to amend it as needed.
I'm sure you'll do fine.
Consideration and action on an ordinance authorizing and providing for the issue of $1.1 million in general obligation bonds. These coming from an alternate revenue source, Series 2014 of the city for the purposes of financing the purchase of a ladder platform fire truck and refunding certain outstanding debt certificates of the city, and for payment of the expenses incident thereto, and providing for the levy of a direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal and the interest on said bonds. I guess we're looking for a vote to approve that ordinance, and then we want to add to it.
Subject to your approval of
subject
the
to the-
completed form of the ordinance and some written opinion by bond counsel that adopting this ordinance will not violate the covenants stated herein concerning prior issuance of bonds of the city.
Okay. Please don't ask me to repeat that. Okay. Okay. Alderman Koontz, second by Alderman Bertle. Discussion or comment? Hearing none, roll call.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. Okay, next we have consideration and action on an ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an escrow agreement in connection with the series of the $1.1 million general obligation bonds from an alternate revenue source, Series 214 of the city. And I'm going to add the same verbiage as the previous one.
Yes, sir. Be my recommendation.
Alderman Bertle, second by Alderman Bud. Discussion or comment? Hearing none, roll call.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz. Martin Voda.
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. Okay, per subparagraph G of 5 ILCS 120/2.06, this portion of the City Council meeting is reserved for any person wishing to address the council on any relevant subject matters concerning the city. Would anyone in the audience like to address the council?
Thank you, Will.
Okay. With no additional items on the agenda, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Koontz, second by Alderman Voda. Discussion or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against, motion passes. Meeting adjourned 7:54 p.m.